The air on the observation deck went cold the moment she said it. Not cold like weather. Cold like a threat that everyone understood, but nobody wanted to answer. Empress Shavira stood above us on a floating platform, her silver armor catching the light of a dying star outside the window. She looked down at Earth's delegation like we were something she had stepped in. "Defeat me, human," she said, her voice echoing through the chamber, "and I will be yours." She laughed. Behind her, 100 Kari soldiers laughed with her. It was not a kind laugh. It was the laugh of someone who had never once been wrong about her own strength. I was standing near the back, holding a data pad I no longer cared about. My name is Daniel Hartley. I used to fix broken machines on damaged ships during the war. Nobody talks about anymore. I was not a soldier. I was not important. I was just a man who understood how things worked, and how they broke. Ambassador Neil Whitfield, the head of our delegation, tried to speak. His voice shook. "We are here for peace talks, not combat." Shavira tilted her head, amused. "Then leave. Tell your planet it was too weak to even offer a name." Nobody moved. Every alien species behind us watched with quiet interest, the kind you give a car crash you cannot look away from. Word had already spread across a dozen worlds. If Earth backed down here, we would never be taken seriously again. Every trade deal, every borderline, every future conversation would start with the memory of this moment. I do not remember deciding to speak. My mouth moved before my mind caught up. "I'll fight her." The room turned toward me. Neil looked like he wanted to grab me and throw me out an airlock. Shavira's eyes locked onto mine, and for the first time since she arrived, her smile faded into something sharper. Curiosity. "You," she said, "you are not a soldier. I can smell fear that has never been trained out of a person. You will die in seconds." "Then it won't take long," I said. "Let's not waste your time." A ripple of surprise moved through the crowd. Even the aliens who did not understand our language seemed to understand tone. Shavira studied me a moment longer, then nodded once. "The arena will be ready in 1 hour," she said. "Zero gravity zone 3. No weapons. Only skill, and the will to survive." She turned and walked away, her guards following like a wave pulled back into the sea. Neil grabbed my arm the second she was gone. "Are you out of your mind? She has never lost. Not once. Not in 900 worlds." "I know," I said. "Then why?" I looked out the window at the star burning slowly outside, thinking about every ship I had ever repaired, every system I had ever studied, every fight I had ever avoided, because I was smarter than the men throwing punches. "Because everyone keeps fighting her the same way," I said. "And she keeps winning the same way. Somebody has to change the question." An hour later, I stood at the edge of Zero Gravity Zone 3, a massive open chamber built into the side of the flagship, lined with floating platforms and thin beams of light that acted as walkways. There was no true floor, no true ceiling, just space, contained inside walls of reinforced glass, watched by thousands of eyes from a dozen different worlds. An ancient voice greeted me as I entered. It came from everywhere and nowhere, calm and steady. "Welcome, Daniel Hartley. I am Warden, keeper of this station, and arbiter of this duel. The rules are simple. You may use the environment, you may use your mind, you may not use weapons designed to harm beyond the body. The match ends when one competitor yields or can no longer continue." "Understood," I said. Shavira floated in from the opposite end, her armor gone now, replaced by a simple training suit that still made her look like she belonged on a monument somewhere. Muscles trained for centuries of combat, reflexes built through implants most species could only imagine. She smiled at me the way a lion might smile at a rabbit that had wandered too close. "Last chance to run, small one," she said. "I'm good," I said, "but thank you." She moved first, and she moved fast. Faster than anything I had ever seen. One moment she was 30 feet away, the next her hand was near my shoulder, and only pure instinct made me twist aside. The crowd gasped. I felt the air shift where her hand had been. I did not try to match her speed. I could not. Instead, I pushed off a nearby platform and let the momentum carry me sideways, studying the layout of the arena as I moved. Cables, support beams, panels that controlled the gravity fields in each section. My old job had taught me to see machines the way other people saw faces, each one with its own quiet story. Shavira came again, and again I dodged, barely. She was not trying to end it quickly. She was performing, showing the watching worlds exactly how outmatched I was. Each near miss was a message. Each miss was also, though she did not know it yet, a piece of information. I began counting the pattern in her strikes. Not because I was a fighter, but because that is what engineers do. We look for patterns. We look for weaknesses in design. And a body, trained or not, is still a system. By the fourth exchange, I understood two things. First, she was faster in open space than near the beams, where the gravity fields pulled slightly harder and slowed her turns. Second, she always attacked from her right side first when she wanted to end things quickly, a habit built from centuries of victories she never had to question. I let her back me toward one of the support beams. She smiled, thinking she had cornered me. At the last second, I grabbed the beam and pulled myself hard to the left, using the sudden gravity shift near the panel to swing my body around faster than my muscles alone ever could. Her strike missed by inches. For the first time, the crowd went silent instead of gasping. Shavira's eyes narrowed. The amusement was gone now, replaced by focus. "Clever," she said, "but cleverness does not win duels." "We'll see," I said, breathing hard. She came at me with everything then. No more performance. Just speed and force, aimed straight at ending this. I could not outfight her. I never could. So I did the only thing I had planned from the very beginning. I let her chase me toward the far wall, where a cluster of gravity panels controlled the entire zone. As she closed the distance, I reached out and struck the control node, just once. Just enough to overload the local field instead of destroying it. The gravity in that section flipped, gentle but sudden, like the floor and ceiling changing places in the space of a heartbeat. Shavira, moving at full speed, had no beam to grab, no wall to catch her. Her momentum carried her past me, out of control for the first time in longer than she could probably remember. I caught the edge of a platform and steadied myself. She spun, twisted, and barely caught a beam of her own, breathing harder than before. For a moment, we simply looked at each other across the shifting light of the arena. "You did not defeat my strength," she said, her voice quieter now. "You defeated my certainty." "That's usually how it works," I said. "Nobody ever expects the quiet ones to be paying attention." She pushed off the beam and came at me one more time, but slower now. Testing instead of attacking. I met her with everything I understood about the arena, guiding each exchange toward the panels, the shifting fields, the parts of the fight that were built into the room itself, rather than my own body. Every time she pressed forward, I turned the space around us into something unfamiliar to her, familiar to me. It was not a clean fight. I took hits. My arm ached where her hand had grazed me earlier, and my ribs would carry the memory of this day for weeks. But I stayed conscious. I stayed moving, and that, more than anything, seemed to shake her more than any single blow could have. The final moment came when I guided her into the last unstable section of the arena, where two gravity fields overlapped and canceled each other out completely. She realized it a second too late, weightless and without anchor, momentum betraying her for the second time. I did not attack. I simply reached out, caught her wrist gently, and held on, using my own grip on a nearby beam to keep us both steady in the drifting space. "Yield," I said quietly, not as a challenge, but almost as a question. The chamber was silent. Thousands of eyes from a dozen worlds watched a Titan hover in open space, held not by force, but by a single steady hand, from a species she had called weak only hours earlier. Shavira looked at me for a long moment. Something in her expression shifted. Not anger, not shame, something closer to genuine surprise. "I yield," she said. Warden's voice returned, calm as always. "The duel is concluded. Victory belongs to Daniel Hartley, representative of Earth." The silence broke into noise, a wave of voices from every species in the chamber. Some confused, some amazed, all of them changed in some small way by what they had just witnessed. Later, after the medics had checked my ribs and the excitement had settled into something quieter, Shavira found me alone near the observation window, looking out at the star still burning steadily in the distance. "You did not fight to win the way my people fight," she said, standing beside me. "No," I agreed. "I fought to solve a problem. You were the problem. The arena was the solution." She studied me for a long moment, something like respect settling into her expression. For 900 worlds, victory meant strength. Today, it meant something else. "Maybe that's what Earth brings to the table," I said. "Not more strength, just a different question." She did not answer right away. Instead, she looked out at the same star I had been watching, and for the first time since I had met her, she seemed almost thoughtful instead of proud. "The coalition will hear about this," she finally said. "Your world will have its seat." "Good," I said, because I really did not want to do that again. A small, unexpected laugh escaped her. Quiet and real, nothing like the mocking laughter from hours before. I stood there a while longer, watching the star, thinking about how strange it was that the biggest victory of my life had nothing to do with strength at all. It was about paying attention, about understanding the shape of a problem before trying to solve it. Somewhere far below us, Earth continued spinning, unaware that one quiet engineer had just changed how the galaxy saw an entire species, not with power, but with patience. And for the first time in a very long while, I felt like maybe that was enough.